Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, Counter Spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Comedy this hour, Robert Young starring as Jim Anderson in an episode of Father Knows Best. This was originally broadcast January 25th, 1951.
Mother, is Maxwell House the best coffee in the whole world?
Well, your father says so, and your father knows best.
Yes, it's Father Knows Best, transcribed in Hollywood, starring Robert Young as father. A half-hour visit with your neighbors, the Andersons. Brought to you by Maxwell House, the coffee that's bought and enjoyed by more people than any other brand of coffee at any price. Maxwell House, always good to the last drop. All marriages, we've oft been told, are figured out in heaven. But there must be an annex on Maple Street at number 607. In the event that you didn't know, that's where the Andersons live. And that's where Dan Cupid gets in some pretty powerful licks, like this.
But I'm not hungry.
Stop arguing, Kathleen, and eat your dinner.
Margaret, I see no reason why the children have to eat at this ridiculous hour.
I don't mind eating at 5 o'clock.
You don't mind eating, period.
Is that so?
By 9 o'clock, they'll be storming around here like a bunch of starving Armenians. And if you think...
Jim, Louise will hear you. She's upstairs getting dressed.
Well, it wasn't her idea. It was yours. Candlelight and soft music.
She happens to be my favorite cousin. And if she needs a little help in getting Tom Goodwin to propose...
They've been going together for almost 5 years, and if he hasn't proposed by this time...
Jim, he's going to propose, believe me.
I don't know. Women get these weird ideas.
There's nothing weird about marriage.
There isn't, huh? Look, honey, the guy obviously isn't the marrying type. It doesn't take 5 years to make up your mind.
I'm going to see to it that Tom Goodwin proposes to my cousin Louise tonight.
Bud?
Yes, Dad?
I want you to keep this little scene in mind. It may come in very handy in the future.
Okay, Dad.
Jim.
A poor guy by the name of Goodwin just goes along minding his own business, and what happens? They gang up on him, set traps.
Do they really, Daddy?
Oh, yes. Flickering candlelight, the sweet scent of camellias.
I thought camellias didn't smell.
For what I'm being charged, they'd better smell.
Isn't he awful, Mother, just because he's a man?
Now, there's another thing. Isn't it disgraceful? I'm a man. You know, this isn't just a case of Louise and her friend having dinner with us. This is a fight to the finish. The hunters smell blood, and they're closing in for the kill.
I thought they were just going to have dinner.
But as you grow older, you'll learn that women have a peculiar attitude when it comes to unattached males. If a man wanders around unmarried, every woman in the world considers it a personal insult. They band together, they form little groups, they compare strategies.
Father.
Leave him alone, dear. He'll run down.
You see, Bud?
I don't get it.
I don't, too.
Well, it's very simple, children. Your mother, being a woman, and I wouldn't have it any other way, is trying to get poor Tom Goodwin to commit matrimony with her cousin Louise.
Oh. Well, sure.
Did you understand that?
Keep still or he'll explain it again.
Jim, I don't understand your sudden interest in poor Tom Goodwin. You don't even know the man.
That has nothing to do with it. He's a man. And in a case like this, we've got to stick together. Right, Bud?
Oh, sure.
Oh, Bud, those are probably the flowers. Will you get them like a good boy?
How about my cake?
No one's going to touch your cake.
Well, I better take it with me anyway.
Bud, you'll get crumbs all over the floor. Oh, dear, if he gets this house messed up...
Honey, don't you think you're going a little overboard on this thing?
I certainly do not. Tom Goodwin is coming all the way from Middletown for this dinner, and if one thing goes wrong...
Nothing is going wrong, Mother. He'll be hooked before he knows what hit him. Who's gonna get hooked?
Never mind, dear. Just drink your milk.
What I like is the high plane on which females conduct these campaigns. He's going to be hooked.
Who is Daddy?
Betty, it's Dick Andrews.
Tell him I'll be right there.
Betty, you haven't finished your dinner.
Oh, it's all right, Mother. We're going to stop in for a hamburger on the way to rehearsal.
Well, don't stay out too late, dear.
I won't. And good hunting. So long, everybody.
If she knew she was going to have a hamburger, why did she...
I can't understand what happened to the flowers. They were supposed to be here at 4.
You still didn't tell me.
Tell you what, dear.
Who's going to get hooked?
No one is, Kathy, and please drink your milk.
Anytime nobody wants to tell me anything, drink your milk.
Boy, that Dick Andrews a character. You know what he's got on? 3 mufflers and a... Hey, what happened to my cake?
Sit down and drink your milk.
But I had a whole piece of cake.
You took it with you.
I did? Oh, well, I guess I ate it. You know what Dick Andrews had on?
3 mufflers.
Yeah, what a character.
Jim, if the flowers aren't here in 15 minutes, you'll have to go after them.
I have to change my shirt. What's the matter with Bud?
He's leaving as soon as he finishes his milk.
Me too. I'm being stashed over at Patty's, so I won't say anything.
Well, you've certainly got everything all figured out, haven't you?
Yes, dear. To the last detail.
Poor guy. I hope he knows what he's in for.
Meaning me, I suppose.
Oh, hello, Louise.
Don't pay any attention to Jim, dear. He's just being a man.
Oh, Margaret, would you mind very much if
Louise, you haven't changed your clothes.
I know, dear. You see, I've been thinking the whole thing over, and I'm not
She
sure.
looks all right, Margaret. Why don't you leave her alone?
Louise Baker, you march right upstairs and put on your blue dress.
Margaret.
Honey, if she doesn't want
Jim, will you please leave this to me?
Oh, he's here.
He isn't here. He won't be here for an hour. It's only the man with the flowers. Bud?
Yes, ma'am. It's a good thing for this family I know how to open a door.
He's the ambitious type.
Margaret, would you mind very much if we called the whole thing off?
I most certainly would.
But if Tom ever finds out...
Louise, you can't call off an avalanche. And once Margaret gets started, well, that's it.
Somebody's gonna get hooked.
Kathy.
Oh, dear.
Don't worry about helpful Henrietta. She'll be out of here before you can say, why, Tom, how sudden.
Jim, when it comes to being helpful...
Well, even if he does propose, Margaret, it won't work. A man shouldn't be tricked into marriage.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
Shouldn't. A marriage has to be built on a firmer foundation. And if it starts out with trickery and deceit, well, how can it possibly last?
Jim and I've done all right, haven't we?
Now, wait a minute.
What is it, Bud?
It was Mr. Davis, and he said to tell you he was awfully sorry, but they have to go over to his mother's for dinner.
Oh, dear. Now what are we going to do about Kathy?
Why don't I go over to the Woodies? Why don't I just go back to Middletown?
You go upstairs and change your clothes. And let's not have any more of this nonsense.
Better do what she says, Louise. She's a pretty rough customer.
I'll see you later.
Just a minute, Bud.
But Joe's waiting for me.
Go ahead, Louise.
Margaret, I am not a child.
Of course you aren't. Now go upstairs and change.
Oh, good grief. This is the silliest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Wait until after you're married. That's when the silly things really begin.
Jim, what are you trying to do?
What am I supposed to do? Just stand here?
Oh, Bud, you'll take Kathy with you.
Oh, boy!
Holy cow, Mom.
You're only going over to Joe's.
I know, but we're going to invent a telephone.
Okay, Kathy can be the bell.
Holy cow.
Go ahead, Bud, and take good care of your sister.
If she touches one thing...
I won't, Bud. Honest, I won't. You won't even know I'm there. Really, you won't.
Holy cow.
Margaret,
Yes, dear.
would you mind explaining one small thing to me?
Of course not, but don't you think you better run down for the flowers?
The flowers can wait. What did you mean, Jim and I have done all right?
Well, haven't we?
Naturally, but there wasn't any trickery involved in our marriage. The whole thing was my idea.
Oh, Jim, it was no such thing. I made up my mind the first day we ever met.
And I suppose I had nothing to do with it.
That's right.
Now, look, Margaret.
Angel, do you remember what happened the night you proposed?
Of course I do. I walked around the block 6 times before I had the nerve to go in.
It was only 5.
There were 6.
My father was counting them, and it was 5.
Okay, 5. But when I pushed the bell, that was it.
Jim, you were it before you even saw the bell.
You know, now that I think of it, I got the candlelight and soft music business myself, didn't I?
To a Wild Rose. Took me 6 months to learn the darn thing.
And come to think of it, I've never heard you play anything since. Just To a Wild Rose.
That's all it took.
Well, if that isn't the most cold-blooded, conniving, I'm getting to the point where I don't even like women.
You aren't supposed to, dear. Just me.
Think you're clever, don't you? I've got a good mind to tell Tom Goodman what this is all about.
You wouldn't dare.
Oh, I wouldn't I?
No, you wouldn't. Now stop acting like a spoiled little boy and answer the door.
Yes, Mother.
And if it isn't the man with the flowers, you will have to go after them.
I don't have to. But I will. Women, they think they're so smart about everything. Can't even let a man make up his own mind about getting married. Music, flowers. Well, it certainly took you long enough to get here.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Anderson, but you see...
Never mind the explanations. Just give me the flowers.
Yes, sir.
You just about ruined everything.
I did?
You certainly did. You see, these aren't just flowers. These are tools to dig the grave of an unsuspecting bachelor.
They are?
Yep. Poor guy. He's as good as cooked right now. Well, where do I sign?
For what?
The flowers. Don't I have to sign for them?
Oh, no. You see, I'm Tom Goodwin.
January 25th, 1951, Father Knows Best on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The big Overstock sale going on right now at MyPillow.com. If you know somebody who likes body pillows, the MyPillow body pillow, deeply discounted to just $39.95. Also, they have select pillowcases, couch pillows, and individual towels deeply discounted. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener square, use my promo code USA, and get deep discounts just for you at MyPillow.com. Thanks for tuning into Classic Radio Theater with me, Wyatt Cox, and on this radio station we have for you more of Father Knows Best, January 25th, 1951.
The candles have burned low in the Andersons' dining room, and the scent of flowers mingles gently with the memory of good red beef. The dinner hour is almost gone, and a delicate moment approaches. The time has arrived for the kill, like this.
Why don't we have our coffee in the living room? I think we'll be much more comfortable.
In the living room? Since when do we have...
Jim.
Oh, yes. Why don't we have our coffee in the living room? Be more comfortable.
Gosh, that was sure a wonderful dinner, Margaret.
Oh, well, thank you, Tom.
Margaret's a wonderful cook, isn't she?
She sure is.
Well, it runs in our family. Doesn't it, Louise?
Well, I wouldn't exactly say that.
She's just being modest, Tom. Grandmother Williams always used to say that our family produced the finest cooks in the entire country.
Ye gods.
What was that, dear?
Nothing. I was just, well, certainly looks romantic in here, doesn't it? Fire in the fireplace, all the lights turned off.
Jim.
Well, I was only saying...
Why don't you sit down, Tom, and we'll have our coffee.
Well, thank you very much.
Cream and sugar?
No, thanks. I'll take it straight.
Louise?
Thank you, Margaret.
You take yours plain, too, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Isn't that an amazing coincidence? You and Tom have so many things in common, don't you?
Oh.
Is something wrong, Jim?
No, I was just wondering when my turn was coming up. For coffee, I mean.
Here you are, dear.
Thank you very much. You know, Tom, it's a funny thing, but after you get used to having a few kids in the house...
Louise, why don't you play something for us?
Oh, I don't think I
Sure,
should.
go ahead, Lou. You play, and we'll drink our coffee.
All right. How would you like To a Wild Rose?
What happened?
Jim, if you don't stop
It's
that.
all right. It went down the wrong pipe, that's all.
Go ahead, Louise.
Oh, but
Jim will love To a Wild Rose.
Oh, yes, it's practically my favorite song.
Yeah? Mine, too.
Yes. that didn't last very long, did it?
Kathy, why aren't you...
Hi, everybody.
Bud.
Oh, Mrs. Anderson, Mr. Anderson.
You guys, they brought a friend.
Bud, I distinctly told you.
Mom, you know what she did? She blew out all the fuses at the Phillips.
I did not.
You certainly did.
I didn't either, did I, Joe?
Well, I don't know who did it, but the lights are sure all out.
Look, why don't you kids...
We told her to plug it in when we said okay.
You did not. You just said to plug it in.
Joe, you were right there. Didn't I tell her to wait?
Gosh, I don't know. I was down in the basement.
What were you trying to do, blow up the house?
We were making a telephone, Dad, and I told
Bud.
her. Yes, ma'am?
I want you and Kathy to go right back to Joe's.
But there aren't any lights.
Bud Anderson, if you don't go back to Joe's this very instant...
Hey, what's the matter with our lights?
Jim, will you please do something?
All right, honey.
Did we blow a fuse, too?
Your mother's liable to any second. Joe?
Yes, sir?
Aren't your mother and father at home?
No, sir. You see, we didn't know Kathy was coming over, and when she did, my mother and father decided they had to go to the movies.
Jim, why don't you take the children inside?
All right. Come on, kids.
I'm sure Louise and Tom will understand. Of course.
Oh, was he the one who's going to get...
Kathy.
Let's all go down to the playroom and see if we can't get this thing straightened out.
Come on, Kathy.
Well, stop pulling me. Why do you always have to pull
See you later,
me?
Mrs. Anderson.
All right, Joe. I'm awfully sorry, Tom.
Oh, that's okay. I don't mind a little noise.
Tom lives at the Y in Middletown, and he's used to having boys around. Aren't you, Tom?
I sure am.
I see. Tell me, do you like living at the Y?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I like it fine.
I mean, it isn't like having your own home, is it?
Well, no, but then there wouldn't be any sense in my having my own home, would there? Gosh, I'm not even married.
So we understand.
Margaret, if you don't mind.
Well, I guess I got that all. Oops.
Jim, why aren't you more careful?
What do you mean, careful? It's so dark in here, I can't even see where I'm... Oops. I'm sorry, Tom.
Oh, that's all right, Jim.
There. Just about made it, didn't I?
Are the children all right, dear?
Oh, sure. They're going to rig up the phone over here, but they promised not to make any noise.
Oh, dear.
You see, Joe got a telephone outfit for Christmas, and they've been trying to...
Jim, Louise was going to play.
But I was just telling... I'm sorry, Louise. Just go right ahead.
Well...
To a wild rose.
All right.
Pretty, isn't it?
Jim.
Well, I was just... Yes.
Everybody, I'm back!
Oh, no.
Go on into the dance deck. I'll be right there.
Okay.
Mother, the most terrible thing happened. What are y'all sitting around in the dark for?
The, roses grow better that way.
Betty, you said the rehearsal wouldn't be over until 10.
Well, the boiler broke down and there wasn't any heat, and you've never seen any place so cold. Hi, Louise. Hello, dear. I haven't met your friend. Oh, I'm sorry. Betty, this is Tom Goodwin. How do you do?
Hi, Betty. Louise was telling me that...
Betty!
Oh, excuse me, I forgot all about Dick. I'll be right in!
Betty, please.
I understand, Mother. We won't make a sound.
How did he get upstairs?
Kathy!
Bud?
We're almost finished, Dad. Kathy!
Betty!
I'm coming!
I don't know what's gotten into those children tonight.
Did you say something, Tom?
No, I was just sitting here, that's all.
Well, ordinarily, you don't even know they're in the house.
Honey.
Well, I mean, you know they're in the house, of course, but... Go ahead, dear.
What?
The piano, you were doing beautifully, wasn't she, Tom?
Oh, she sure was. Just great.
All right, Louise.
If the roses weren't wild in the beginning, they are now.
Jim.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, dear.
Kathy, tell Joe it needs more volume.
Oh, Joe! It needs more volume!
I've got it all the way up now.
He's got it all the way up now!
Well, tell him to turn the plug over.
Joe! Turn the plug over!
Okay, wait a minute.
Jim.
Leave them alone, Margaret. They'll stop.
Kathy, ask him how it is now.
Bud! Joe wants to know how it is now!
It's worse. Tell him to put it back the way it was.
Oh, Joe! Put it back the way it was!
Jim, I don't think I can stand this for another second.
The kids at the piano.
For you. Okay, I'll be right in.
Louise? Will you excuse us for just a minute? Jim and I have a few things we want to take care of.
Oh, please don't worry about us, Margaret.
Oh, we'll get along fine.
All right, Jim.
What?
We have to take care of those things.
What thing?
Kathy!
Oh, those things.
Oy vey, what a mess. January 25th, 1951, Father Knows Best. I'm Wyatt Cox. You're listening to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. That would be me. And we will have an episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, coming up, plus the conclusion of Father Knows Best next.
America's founders knew power corrupts, and ultimate power corrupts ultimately, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's why they built in checks and balances to prevent any one group from seizing all power.
And that's why our president is elected by a college of electors to protect the rights of little states like Delaware and Wyoming against giants like New York and California. After all, our country is a republic, the United States of America, not the United State. Our states are independent sovereign powers who created the federal government, not the other way around.
And that's why all power ultimately lies in we the people and the states, not a central dictatorship of cronies. Did you know that? Thank God for the U.S. Constitution.
Find out more how our amazing Constitution and Bill of Rights protect us, the citizens, against power-crazed politicians in Washington. Help us take back America. Go to ouramericanrights.com. Brought to you by the American Media Council.
You're listening to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, and we're concluding now. Father Knows Best, a peaceful matchmaking session from January 25th, 1951.
We'll be right back, Tom.
Well, don't hurry on our account now. We're not going anywhere.
Hello? Oh, hello, Janie.
Jim, I have never been so embarrassed in my entire life.
Well, this will teach you not to go around playing Cupid. With a house full of kids, what did you expect?
I expected Tom Goodwin to propose, and he's going to.
I'll still take Tennessee in 6 points.
I want you to go right down to the playroom and explain to Kathy and
Why don't I just shoot them and get it over with?
Jim.
Well, how do you expect a bunch of normal kids...
They don't have to practice hog calling tonight, do they?
No, but... Well, I'll speak to them.
I'll take care of Betty, and Jim, please be firm with them.
Oh, sure. I'll tell them they've got to make a very quiet type of noise. Bud?
We're down here, Dad.
Bud, whether or not you know it, you and Kathy are in a jam.
We are?
What'd we do?
Hey, look at this. There's a whole box of things we never even saw.
Well, no wonder it wouldn't work.
Bud, I'm trying to tell you.
Let's go upstairs and try it again.
Kathy.
What?
Now, look. Bud, Kathy. And you too, Joe.
Yes, sir?
I went out and bought a book, and I'm now an expert on child psychology.
You are?
Gosh.
And do you know what the book says to do? If I hear one more peep out of any one of you, and come down here and wring your scrawny little necks.
Boy, psychology.
Now, is that understood?
We were only trying to fix up the phone, Dad.
We didn't know you were going to get mad.
All right, just remember, one little peep.
Jim! Oh, Jim!
What's the matter, honey?
Oh, Jim, it happened.
What?
What happened?
Isn't this wonderful, Father? Did he get hurt?
Kathy.
I'm so excited I can't even think.
What's going on, Bud?
Louise.
Oh, Jim, I've never been so happy in my whole life.
You mean he did it?
Look, a ring and everything.
Well, what do you know?
Well, congratulate me, Jim. I finally made it.
You finally made it. I mean... Congratulations, Tom.
Thank you, Jim.
They're going to be married in June. Isn't it thrilling?
I should say.
Yes, sir, and I owe it all to you and Margaret.
To us?
Well, sure. You see, Jim, I was an only child, and things around my house were always, well, kind of quiet.
All right, but...
That's why I was afraid to get married. I thought it'd be sort of dull. But gosh, if it's like this...
You mean you're getting married for the noise?
Isn't it wonderful?
Oh, no.
It's breakfast time on Maple Street, and the Andersons, 5 little cupids with egg on their chins, are deep in the morning meal and deep in their usual problems. Like this.
Isn't it strange the way things turn out, dear?
You mean Louise and Tom?
Yes. Now, who would ever have guessed that he was so crazy about children?
Louise said they're going to have millions of them.
She said 6.
That's what I said.
Margaret,
Yes, dear.
you don't have any more cousins you'd like to,
No, dear.
not even a second cousin?
Jim, I give you my word, my matchmaking days are over.
Good. May I please have the sugar? Thank you.
Father,
Yes, Benny.
do you know a boy named Frank Culbertson?
No, I don't think so. Why?
Well, he belongs to the athletic club.
What about him?
Well, you must know him, Father. He's 27 years old, blonde hair, blue eyes, 5 feet 11 inches, 165 pounds.
Wait a minute. Even if I did know him, don't you think he's a little old for you?
Oh, I didn't mean for me. But Janie Liggett's cousin is 25, and that's pretty old for a girl to be wandering around without a boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So we were just
May I
wondering
have
if
a
you
cream,
couldn't
please?
sort of drop a hit around the
here you are,
club
Dad.
that you know a
Kathy,
girl
if you don't
who'd
drink
be
your
lots
milk,
of
you're
fun
going
for
to be late
somebody
for
who was
school.
blonde.
Is it all right if I
blue-eyed,
dunk my
who was
toe?
5 feet
Well, what do you
11
know? I
and
think the
weighed
sun's trying to come out.
165 pounds.
Join us again next week when we'll be back with Father Knows Best, starring Robert Young as Jim Anderson, with June Whitley as Margaret, Roy Bargy and the Maxwell House Orchestra, and yours truly, Bill Foreman. So until next Thursday, good night and good luck from the makers of Maxwell House, America's favorite brand of coffee. Always good to the last drop. Father Knows Best was transcribed in Hollywood and written by Ed James.
January 25th, 1951, Father Knows Best on Classic Radio Theater.
Here's some great news. If you missed the deadline to sign up for health insurance, or if you just have a plan you're not happy with, you still have a choice. It's called MediShare. There are hundreds of thousands of members, and they love it. MediShare has a 98% customer satisfaction rating, and this is obviously huge. The typical family saves around $6,000 a year switching to MediShare. Find out more. They're great to talk to. 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE.
Now on Classic Radio Theater, Part 3 of the 5-part Duke Red matter, a very volatile episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, from January 25th, 1956.
From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Johnny Dollar.
Who?
Johnny Dollar, the insurance investigator. This is Miss Abbott, isn't it?
Yes. What are you doing in the stable office?
Waiting for you to call me. Your father threw me off the farm a few minutes ago. A man named Cully who works for your dad said he really didn't mean it. Said he'd fix it up for me to talk to you.
Cully. I guess that's why he asked me to phone the stable office.
You told me the horse wasn't injured, shouldn't have been destroyed.
Oh, I hope you didn't believe all that, Mr. Dollar.
Well, now look, I've got to settle a $65,000 claim on the death of a racehorse. The carcass was cremated, and I have no evidence that the horse was destroyed or even injured. I don't know what to believe yet, but I can tell you this. Don't ever talk to an insurance investigator the way you did earlier today, not unless you can back it up.
My, you sound grim.
You sound like it's a laughing matter.
Hardly anything's a laughing matter. I'll be right down.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar. Location, San Pietro, California. To the Universal Adjustment Bureau, Universal Building, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Duke Red matter. 15 minutes after I spoke with Terry Abbott on the phone, I looked out the window of the stable office and saw her starting down toward the stables. She'd changed clothes. This time she was wearing blue jeans and riding boots. She carried a quirt in one hand, a cigarette in the other. There was a scarf or some such tied around her hair. All in all, it was a classic impression. Rich girl, racing horses, and fast cars. She wore a disdainful pout, also classic.
Hi.
I do.
Father asked me where I was going, and I told him I was going for a ride. Why'd he throw you out?
He didn't like questions I asked him, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe I won't like the questions you ask me.
Possibly. Probably.
You don't really work very hard trying to please anyone, do you?
Industrial hazard in my business. Hope it doesn't bother you too much, Miss Abbott.
Nope, I like it. You're so darn sure of yourself, and you know so darn little, and you look like you might be thinking all kinds of things. How tall are you? No, let me guess. 6'1"?
Not quite.
Well, you're tall enough, I suppose. Do you like this office? I suppose you've been opening the files and going through all of Father's papers. That's what you're supposed to do, isn't it?
Nope.
Well, unless you know something about horses, the papers around here wouldn't mean much to you. Times, weights, whole schedule and chart for every bit of stock on the place. Do you know anything about horses?
Just one. Duke Red.
Oh.
He was insured for $65,000. And he's dead now.
You know, I didn't think I'd ever see you again.
I wanted to talk to you before I left.
What about? I didn't insure Duke Red. My father insured him. Your business is with my dad, not me, Mr. Dollar.
Pardon me if I seem a little confused, but earlier today you were very anxious to tell me something about all that.
Was I?
Yes, you were. Hey, what is this anyway?
I wish we hadn't met.
But we did, and you mentioned there was no need to destroy Duke Red after he'd been injured. Now, did you say something like that to me because you were angry at your father? Or did you say it because there was some truth to it? Well, now, what's that supposed to mean? Do you just stand around and pout when people ask you questions? Did you mean that horse wasn't injured, or that he was injured, but that he could have been saved? Well, did you have any reason at all for saying the things you did?
I've been very upset lately. All of us around here have been very upset.
Yeah, I'm getting that way myself.
Duke Red was the best horse we've had around these stables in 5 years. His father was a real champion, Earl Red, and maybe you've heard of him. He earned $190,000. We've all been counting on Duke Red since he was a colt. He had it then. This was going to be his big year. When this stupid accident happened, it just turned all of us upside down.
Uh-huh. Is that your explanation for the things you said to me?
Yes, for the moment. Now, please, don't ask me any more questions right now.
One more.
What?
Your father fired a couple of people I wanted to talk with. One of them was a Howard Monroe.
Dad's office manager.
Yes, I met him a couple of nights ago. He wouldn't talk. He was too mad. Said something about letting your father handle his own dirty business.
What?
Now, I don't know what that meant, and I don't think I care just now. But the other man who was fired was a horse trainer named Warner, Tom Warner. According to your father, it was Warner's neglect that caused the horse to stumble and back into the tractor blades.
What?
Warner isn't around here now, but he must be somewhere, and I want to talk to him. Now, where can I find out his address?
He's from Baltimore, Maryland.
Baltimore. What about his address?
Well, it'd be in the personnel files. You can get those at the office in town, in San Pietro.
Okay. Do you think he went there?
I don't know. And what's more, I don't care.
The Abbotts, father and daughter, were turning out to be a real peachy pair to deal with. I left them in their racing farm and drove back into San Pietro and the offices where I obtained the Baltimore address on Thomas Warner. Expense account item 4, $1.05, one telegram. To Hartford in the office of Niles Pearson, requesting a complete record of Benjamin Abbott's financial status. Item 5, $1.60, another telegram. To Thomas Warner, horse trainer, requesting him to contact me as soon as possible at the San Pietro Hotel. Meanwhile, I did what I could to establish Abbott's local credit standing. I started with the bank.
Dollar?
That's right.
What's it about?
I'm an insurance investigator. I'm working for Universal Adjustment Bureau. We have a claim in on a property of Benjamin Abbott.
Duke Red?
That's right, $65,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a load. What can the bank do for you?
Tell me about Abbott's credit situation, for one thing.
Oh.
He does bank here, I presume.
Yeah, for years. My name's Dale Orion. We better go in my office.
Sure.
Grab a chair, Dollar.
Thanks.
Miss White,
Yes, Mr. Orion.
bring in Mr. Abbott's file, please. Up to date.
Yes, sir.
It'll take a few minutes, Dollar.
All right. Maybe you can give me a rundown on how things are generally.
Maybe. This is all confidential, I suppose.
Absolutely, Mr. Orion. I have no axe to grind.
You must have something to grind, or you wouldn't be here. People usually try to cheat insurance companies for money reasons, don't they?
Well, usually, yes.
Have you been cheated?
I don't know. I don't know if there's any reason for us to be cheated. Look, maybe it'll put your mind at ease if I just tell you that a man with a $65 claim has his financial situation checked as a matter of course.
You're a careful bunch of cut-ups, aren't you?
Well, business being the way it is, yeah.
Well, I don't think you'll find too much to raise an eyebrow about with old Ben. He's got one of the largest balances in town. Roughly, it'd be in the $100,000 area. Yeah, racing horses is quite a business, and he knows what he's doing. I doubt very much if he'd try to bamboozle you people out of a tiny little $65,000.
Well,
that's small change to Ben Abbott. That ranch, the stock, his investment there must come to well over $1 million. He meets a weekly payroll in the $10,000 class. Terry must run him a couple of thousand a month or so.
You mean his daughter?
Yeah. You met her?
Yeah.
Well, when Terry wants a new car, she just parks the old one she's been driving and takes a plane to San Francisco and buys a new one. She might even feel like having a vacation and fly over to Honolulu. She's very expensive that way.
If what you say is true, she must be.
No doubt about it. Well, she'll probably be marrying somebody one of these days as soon as she can find a guy who can stand the freight charges. I figure it'll be one of that Los Angeles oil gang or somebody from Texas. Oil's her best bet, don't you think?
Well,
that is, if she wants to stay in her social circle. It isn't very wide, naturally.
Naturally.
Oh, yes?
Mr. Orion.
Oh, come in.
Mr. Abbott's folder.
Oh, thanks. Well, here it is. See for yourself.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it. You want to take that office over there and look this over, Mr. Dollar?
Mr. Dollar. Yeah, I think I'd better. I spent the rest of the afternoon going over Benjamin Abbott's local bank standing. It confirmed in detail what Mr. Orion had said in general. His assets were many, his cash on hand plentiful. Also, and this has a bearing, the activities of his daughter Terry were indicated in some of the expenditures. There was only one item I had to question Orion about when I'd finished looking it all over.
Yes, Dollar?
I noticed a check was drawn 5 days ago payable to Howard T. Monroe, $5,500.
Yes?
It's marked bonus.
Monroe handled business affairs for Abbott a year or two, and Monroe left a few days ago. Probably severance and things like that.
Yeah.
Anything wrong?
I don't know. For all I can gather, they didn't part company under the best of terms. As a matter of fact, they had kind of a row. Seems strange he'd pay Monroe a balance after he kicked him out.
He's a strange guy. Check cleared all right. No question on it.
Oh, yeah, I noticed. Something else, then. Monroe was fired last Tuesday. Monday, a man named Thomas Warner was fired, too.
Tom Warner, the trainer?
Yeah. Abbott told me Warner was responsible for the accident with Duke Red. Funny.
What?
Well, according to these books, Abbott should still owe Thomas Warner a month's salary, $700.
Well, let me see. Yes.
No bonus, no salary, no severance.
Seems to me Tom Warner's got a kick coming.
Why doesn't he kick, Mr. Orion?
I don't know. I would.
Most anybody would. I rechecked Abbott's local office in San Pietro and learned that Warner had not left any kind of forwarding address. As a matter of fact, he told no one he was leaving. Expense account item 6, $1.98, dinner, alone, in the dining room adjacent to the lobby of the San Pietro Hotel. I wasn't enjoying my chef's special with a limp green salad when the clerk came in.
Mr. Dollar. I thought you might be in here. A long-distance call for you, Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh, yeah, fine. Where can I take you?
Use the lobby phone, Mr. Dollar. I'll plug you in from the switchboard. Yeah, go ahead. They're on the line now.
Good, thanks. Thanks very much. Hello? Hello?
Hello. Is this Johnny Dollar, the man who sent the telegram?
Yes, who's this?
This is Thomas Warner's father. Where I opened it, it said it was important for Thomas to get in touch with you. I thought I'd better call and tell you where you could reach him, Mr. Dollar.
Well, that's very kind of you, sir.
I come home from work. I think this is best. You call him in San Pietro. He worked near there for a man named Benjamin Abbott. Ben Abbott, training horses. You get in touch with Thomas.
Oh,
Mr.
wait a minute. I'm in San Pietro now, Mr. Warner. Your son left here 4 days ago. Didn't he come home?
No. Are you sure Thomas is not at Mr. Benjamin Abbott's farm?
Positive. Do you have any other ideas where he could be?
No. Not sound like Thomas, though, Mr. Dollar. He would not go off away without letting his mother and me know.
Are you sure?
I am sure, certain. Thomas, my son, he always let my wife and I know where he is, so we don't worry. Something is wrong, Mr. Dollar?
What?
Is something wrong?
Yeah. Maybe there is. Yeah. Plenty.
Now, here's our star to tell you about tomorrow's intriguing episode of this week's story.
Tomorrow? Well, sometimes a dead man can answer a lot of questions. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by John Dawson, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Be sure to join us tomorrow night, same time and station, for the next exciting episode of Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
Not liking the way this is sounding, are you? January 25th, 1956, yours truly, Johnny Dollar on Classic Radio Theater. Hope you'll come by and visit my webpage, classicradio.stream. There, not only can you learn more about building a classic radio collection of your own, you can contact me through a form on our webpage, or you can contact me through our Facebook and Twitter accounts. Those are also there at classicradio.stream. And you can hear our shows on demand right there, just easy as can be at classicradio.stream or anywhere podcasts are served. So if you miss a day on this station, miss an episode of Johnny Dollar, you don't have to miss any of them at all, because you can get them there or through iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast. Just search for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. That's a slight change. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Please thank this radio station and support their advertisers. They're kind enough to let us be here on this station. And tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater on your favorite station.